Sorry. Sorry, we're both muted. We gotta. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Drawing Down the Dragon. I'm Snappy, and I'm joined today by my dear friend, Maddie, priestess of Hekate. How's it going, Maddie? Oh, looks like we lost her.
My
Is
bad.
she back? All right, we're back. How are you,
Hey,
Maddie?
I'm great. How are you?
Life is beautiful. Life is beautiful. Really excited for you to come back. This is the third time we've been able to chat
Yeah.
here on the channel. And this time we're here to dig in because you just completed Dr. Ammon's 4-week intensive Greek course, which is a record you were telling. This is a world record, is it not?
Yeah, technically. I mean, we're still working on submitting all of it. It's like a 6-month process, but yeah, it's all been recorded. It's all been documented, and technically, it is the fastest um, ancient Greek intensive course that has been documented so far, and I think it's pretty cool that I've made it through and that Ammon's created this. And of course, it's trial, it's experimental, and I'm excited for when it becomes public for everyone.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's so cool, so cool. So tell us a little bit about your experience in the course. So like now that you've completed it, how do you are you able to translate? Do you have a good grasp of the alphabet? What have you gained from this course, and what do you want to do now with the
Okay.
tools that you've developed?
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot to even unpack.
Mm,
For example, I know exactly what I want to do. Right now, I'm kind of in an in-between area. I'm reading every day. I'm not studying intense like I was. I've been tasked with reading different translations in English as well as Greek to get my brain working and continuing on at a steady pace, but not at an exhausted level. Although I've been uh, really tired. I was doing a lot while doing the course. It's
right. Well,
moving.
you're a mother of four, so doing a lot is
Yeah.
an
So,
understatement.
well, I've been babysitting too, so I've had more
Oh
than
my
four,
gosh.
and yeah, there's just a lot of other stuff that I've been doing. I mean, I wanted to. So before I even I heard about the course being an option. I sent Ammon an email and I was like, if there's nobody else that wants to do it, I will raise my hand. So I was really surprised that I would be picked for that because I sent like small emails like, yeah, I doubt I would get that. And I was just like, what? I remember receiving the invitation and thinking like, oh man, this might have been a lot bigger than I expected and a lot harder than I think I'm capable of. But once I started doing um these classes every day, then I think um that anxiety kind of wore off after a while and I just kind of became devoted to the practice of, hey, we're learning this. I'm going to study and I'm going to do it in a lot of various ways that can help me learn in my own unique way. Because if it's just like you're hammering something constantly, you're just gonna burn yourself out really fast. And so I didn't want to get to that point because I've been deeply inspired and activated at the same time to be equipped with the skill to learn the ancient Greek deeper because again, I when I started it, I didn't have my alphabet memorized. I had the privilege, however, of last June getting associated with Satanic Congregation and Soma Library, um, and beginning to work on transcribing the Lady Babylon episodes and working on building that, which is a very intense project. It's not just like, oh, random links, whatever. It's very in depth, and we want to make it that a good resource for
Right.
everyone.
And the Soma Library, there was also people like, did you ever take Linda's course? I know Linda was doing a course, and
Yeah,
then
well, I've been to
Ion
her
and Nancy
class.
were also offering Ammon's course as well.
Yeah.
Did you have
So
any prior background before you got into this Greek intensive with any of that, or were you just doing the Soma
so
Library stuff?
I was just doing the summer library at first. I think in November, October, November, we started having like a Sunday meetup to learn to go through the Hanson and Quinn, and I was always doing custody exchange during that time and driving and listening on the phone. And I couldn't be deeply involved. I didn't even have a textbook until like that Friday before the intensive started. So I was really excited to get my hands on it, and it's way different than having like just a PDF. So I knew how to look into lexicons. I knew how to, you know, find sources, and I had a bunch of
Really
tools
hadn't
and
done the
people.
language.
I hadn't done the language aspect of it in depth, but I knew that that would help me in my path because my focus, there's a lot of different focuses,
Of
aspects
course.
of what Ammon's doing. And my focus specifically is, and I'm interested in the Bible, and that has been what's drawn me to everything. And I'm like, okay, well, what did Jesus say on the cross? What was happening when there was the transfiguration? What are the beatitudes all about? What is this and that? What was John the Baptist doing? And just reading for myself has opened my eyes, but being able to then be equipped with the skill of translating, um, but also understanding contemporary literature is really important and will take me a long time to develop. And having that in mind and being excited for that at some point,
So
has
let me, are
helped
you
me.
going into like, the- are you gonna, what I'm picturing you in the future then is opening up the Book of John and trying to translate it from that satanic perspective with your immaculate muse and your other lexicons. Is that what you plan to do, or?
I mean, I plan to do that. I was working on for a couple years now. I've had to restart and restart and restart and reanalyze and stuff, and so I never have completed it yet, but I've been going through the book of Matthew, and
Mm.
that I just started
Oh,
on that
Matthew.
because that was just the first gospel, and before my eyes were open to all of this stuff, I um I had been trying to read it from the esoteric lens, and and thinking I knew some deeper symbolism that was there when really I was just adding on BS on top of what was already illusory language and mistranslation. So I had to just kind of restart again and again. Um, and and yeah, I guess not be like, "Oh, I have everything figured out." I'm just exploring it. I'm just
Right.
researching. And now I'm being able to, um, yeah,
Oh,
read
that's it. Yeah, it's
text.
interesting that you bring up Matthew because most of the satanic congregation seems to be interested in Mark, the earliest gospel, or John,
Mhm.
the latest gospel, right? And Matthew,
Yeah.
right, is kind of the one with all the moralizing that people forget. So, like, what's your perspective? Like, because I haven't even tried to look at Matthew through a satanic lens. What is your perspective on Matthew?
Matthew just seems like it's a story that's telling everything
Just kind of
loosely.
summarizing, right?
But there are some goodies in there, that
Mhm.
just really, I mean, yeah, the baptism of Jesus is in there where it's talking about something extremely sexual when it's that's just been flattened and lost. You think, oh, nothing of it. You just got dipped in water and then the sky opened, and I I think for me it's just been fun to look in the Greek and just plug it into the LSJ and be like, oh, what does this word mean? That is describing something that is way different than,
Have you
what
dug deep into the
we read.
baptism stuff? Have you dug
Yeah,
deep into the
yeah.
have you come across that similar word, baptizo, I think it is, to die?
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
stuff blows
yeah.
my mind when you get into that because it seems like it the original meaning and I mean, you've done the deeper dive than I am, so correct me if I'm wrong, but my
Okay.
cursory glance seems to be that they were doing like when you would dye fabrics, you would have like you would put your purple dye and it would sit on the top of the water, and then you immerse it in the water, and then it sticks all over the face. It gets all in the eyes and stuff. And it seems like
Oh,
that's what they're doing. That's what this baptismal rite is. It's the same kind of way you would be, dunking fabrics and getting the stuff on the fabric. These guys are doing it with their heads and getting it all in their eyes. But that could be a
well,
stretch. I'm just wondering. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, potentially. From
Yeah.
what I read was like, it was more along the lines of everyone's going out to John the Baptist because he's horny, like locusts, and breeding and feeling pleasure like honey. And you know,
Right.
I think that he was exposed to substances that would um bring the essences from his body that would baptize Jesus. And so it's really interesting because in their correspondence in the Greek, it's more like, yes, discharge now. I will receive your discharge. I will, let me let that be done. I'm like, oh, that's nasty. But
Oh, it is so that's so nasty. But this to me, this takes me back to when I first started to dig into Crowley because have you ever heard of the
oh
spermatophagy,
yeah.
the
Yeah,
seed
like
eater?
the cakes of light or whatever.
But
Yeah,
like
that
this
too.
all goes back to like there's a couple of these occultists who made the claim that the main ritual, right? Specifically, this guy, trying to remember his name, Jean. He's like a French esotericist. I posted him
Okay.
in the Soma Library a while back, but
Oh
he
yeah.
makes the claim that the Eucharist was the sperm of Christ, and that that's his body, that's his blood, right? And you can even see in the Greek the word for blood can also sometimes mean semen. And
Yeah.
so he gets
Yeah.
into this
So
whole thing about how they're consuming his seed, and this seed connects them to Jesus through this kind of lineage of eating the seed. It's so gross, but yeah.
yeah. That's why the Ammon's holy blowjob was such a big thing. It's like,
Right.
yeah, what do you think they were doing up there on the mountain? And he's like, this shameful act? Yeah, okay.
It's so
Right.
wild. And
I
there's
don't
so
know.
much going on with that John stuff too, because he looks like one of these Dionysian wild men. He's got the dreadlocks. He's living in the woods, eating off the land.
I
And like
guess.
there's all this
Yeah.
stuff too, like the Johannites survive Christ. They're still
Oh
existing
yeah.
to this day. There's still small pockets of the Johannites who believe that Jesus is this evil usurper who stole their religion,
Right. Yeah, the Mandeans too, yeah.
right? It's all
Um
weird.
It does. It does get weird. I mean, it's all, but I think it's still, either way you look at it, with that specifically, baptism, it is an inversion of what came before, and reflections of what they had been exposed to and what had been perhaps changed through time, I suppose.
Right?
So.
Well,
But
yeah,
anyway, I'm excited to like explore more in the Bible and in the um in the apocryphal texts and really see for myself and be equipped and at a level that I'm being gifted with, that not everybody is gonna get the chance to experience with Amen like personally. And so the course was like so um hard and transformatory. Uh, I I think I had to do a lot because I think I wanted to complete it, but I didn't know how I was going to. I didn't know how I'd make it there. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna pass, verbs. That was like the major hump that nobody can get over, right? It's what he always says.
Right.
And but I wanted to say also like I was able to transcribe the first like nine or a few of the Ammon used and early on. So I had an understanding of what Hanson and Quinn was. I just didn't have it um, with me or dive deep into it. So
You hadn't done the dedicated
to
practice, but you did an
yeah.
overview.
hmm So I so I'd been doing that, I painted the in November, December, I painted the satanic mural. I've been making videos, I talked about how Gnostic was being inappropriate. I've been putting myself out there more, and I think that could have been a contributor as to why I was chosen to be this, but um, and at the same time, like, I know, like, I'm not going to use this for a selfish reason. Just be like, I'm gonna just pursue this for my own hobby." More so, like, I would like to dismantle the darkness and expose what these things say, and make them accessible for everybody, and see how I can assist in this movement that's happening. And, um, and with that in mind, every day just doing my own work and doing and being like, okay, this is not sticking. How can I involve? How can I hack my brain to incorporate movement and sound and sound frequency and vibration and even various self hypnosis techniques that I can use to remember this stuff. And for some reason, I didn't have an issue with um, pronouncing or vocab, memorizing that. The whole time, that was just like, for the most part. I mean, toward the end, there was just so much that I couldn't retain everything. But I'd look at a word and be like, I don't know what that means right now. But then I'd heard it a million times. So once I was able to get toward the end, I had amassed so much vocab. But yeah, those two things were the things that were easiest for me. What was hard was the morphology, the verbs, and um, and the sentence structures. So
Right.
understanding all the conditionals um, and the different nuances of uh, different types of clauses. There's just so much, and for most people, it'd be like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But I mean, if you've
Most people
been
don't even
into
know this
the
about English, right? We just kind of do this
yeah,
subconsciously. We were trained in it as children and we take it for granted. And now you're actively having to do this as an adult. It's a very different
yeah,
process, right?
yeah. In my upbringing, I had the privilege of learning Haitian Creole when
Right.
I was really little, like 5, 6, and I was pretty fluent. I don't remember obviously now at all. So then I went from that to like learning French, and for some reason French never stuck. I wasn't really immersed in an environment that spoke it, and I
Mhm.
wasn't serious about classes or anything. But I liked French stuff. But um, my mom has always been really an advocate for travel, and she's missionary lady, and I've always interested in learning languages, and she owns a travel agency as well, so she's out there like wanting to be some sort of um I don't know, uh cultured woman.
Right.
And so I think that rubbed off on me when I was little. Um and but so when I was there were some years that I was homeschooled, and so I would just be really on top of it with like language and reading and English language and and grammar and stuff like that. So getting the hang of relearning all this stuff, but relearning it in English, relearning these concepts that are like vague, but that I'm able to process them and be like, yeah, I get that. That makes sense to me. Was It was fun. I think it was um when Ammon and I first had a conversation before the course began. He was like, "I don't know if anybody will be able to keep up to the end," and I'm like, "You underestimate us." And there was still a group that of like 7 or 8 of us that continued to watch at least, um, but I'm still surprised that at at an endpoint I was able to like read a text and kind of break it down and pinpoint what was happening. Um, and it's a
What was
skill
the first text
that
he got you to read? Just out of
um,
curiosity.
there's a bunch of texts that are in the textbook. So we
Mhm.
were looking at those and just translating them. I think there was one that was Aristophanes and another one that was larger that he would have me do it in my own time too, and sometimes at random. So it was also like you never know. He would tell me to study something, and then we would never get to it, or we would do something else, and so or he'd switch something up on me and be like, "Actually, we're gonna do this. Did you memorize this?" I'm like, "Nope, but I'll try it." Let's do something. And so I had to be fairly flexible, but that means I had to be honest and I had to really do the work because there are answer keys. There are, you flip the page and there's all the answers for the exam. And I'm like, I don't want to cheat. I don't want to be a dishonest person. I want to actually retain it. And if I'm dishonest in the way that I'm approaching learning it, and I'm trying to do it from scratch, right? And for his course, then I have to really spend the time to understand what's even going on and ask for help in the areas and focus more on the areas that I'm weak in. So I didn't have to focus on um on like pronunciation as much as I thought I would have to. But like other areas I did have to focus a lot more and refocus. I'd be flipping back and forth. And what I also did was I created like a per unit. I would create on one piece of paper basically consolidated um all the information that I needed. So everything that we learned from that unit, pretty much as I could fit in one paper, and all the different, word forms or endings or whatever it was, and or different terminology that or prepositions, whatever I needed to memorize that I keep forgetting, you know. And I would fit on one piece of paper, and I could visualize the paper after writing it down and after like memorizing the paper. I could project it in my mind. So it was a tool that I used to memorize it because it was like every 2 or 3 days we would be having an exam where he would be like, all right, flip to this page, work through this sentence, and I want you to work out through it out loud. And I would be sitting there, like, talking to myself, singing to myself, like, probably looking crazy, just wiggling back and forth, trying to being like, "Fuck, this is awful," like, "Oh," like, I don't know, just talking to myself while I'm trying to work through it. And then I'd be like, "Okay." I would be overwhelmed at first, and then I would sit down and be like, "Okay, let's read the sentence through. Where's my verb? And then where's the subject, and then what's happening, how's the structure, what are different clues, what are the patterns?" So there's a lot of that. I don't think it's like a normal language, like a romance language, where you can just be like, I learned how to say how are you today, or I walked the dog in the park. Like you can learn those things in modern Greek, but what we're studying is like the immense complexity and layers of, you have
You're going to the
Um,
literature first, right? We're talking about
yeah,
a literary language, right? A philosophical language. It's very different than a
yeah,
living language. Yeah.
it
It's
is.
similar to it's more similar to Sanskrit than it is to modern Greek. Is how we like to
Yeah,
think of
but
ancient Greek,
I
you
also
know?
feel like it is a living language in a way. I mean, it's not a
Oh,
living
oh,
language
it
in a
is,
way
it is.
that it's
Yeah, I don't mean to
that
say
it's
it's like a
a
dead language, but
yeah,
it's not a it has that literary power and it has a
very much
magical
so.
power,
Yeah,
but
that
this is also something I wanted to ask you about
oh,
because the
yeah.
big power, so Ammon makes so many magical claims about the
Mhm.
language. This is kind of the foundation, the temple of the Muses. This is the tool for which you can change your entire perspective, that you
Yeah.
can see reality in a whole new, more naturalistic light, one not bound up in capitalism or Christianity. What do you feel about that? Do you feel you've been given the keys? Do you have the foundation?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. And I mean, there's a lot more of individual exploring that needs to be done because I mean, we'd sit there going through the vocab lists and we'd just be plugging sometimes you would be plugging stuff into the lexicon and we'd just sit there and read all the different connections and interpretations and you're everything is being drawn back to um, the mother and all this literature that's available and I don't know there's just a lot of whoa there's like uh um everything's connected in a way and I think it's a tool that's being used to see things in an undistorted way where I understand it from one standpoint. I think I know what something means. Until you look at the lexicon and you see how what the context is and what the expanse of the meaning is, then you really don't know the full capacity of what one single word has. And that was really cool. And yeah, there were just a lot of secrets of the physics of the cosmos that he would continually throw at me that I was just kind of craving that the most.
And in awe, right?
Um, and it's hard to I'm just literally like watching and writing without looking and my textbook is just full of scribbles. Barely legible. But
so, so like you're referencing some of this stuff, and Ammon has dropped some hints. So like he showed you how to tune the vowels then in terms of like defining
mm,
reality. This is something that he talks, when you get into the vowels, you're also getting
yeah.
into the seven rays and the seven strings of Apollo's lyre. Now you're
Mhm.
getting into the real rock and roll, right?
Yeah, right. So I he wanted me to just have the foundation
Right, of course.
set, but he did talk about how the vowels just tune and the importance of recognizing the roots and how everything can morph and change and shift and letters disappear and other letters appear in different forms and different um, tenses and different moods and aspects and there's just it's
It's too
just
much.
so much and everything can be also layered on too. You add this and this and this onto it and then it means this phrase and I don't know it's hard to explain until you're looking at a text and you can use an example but um yeah I think that like I studied because the one thing that I went through I think I went through like on my own time when we were doing the group study we were supposed to be going through like chapters 1 through 3 and I wasn't going through them as deep because I was busy but am I out? Can you see
Oh,
me?
yeah, your
Okay.
internet just
Sorry.
jumped on us. You got some lightning going too
Yeah,
again.
I got a storm. God. Um, I don't think I was saying anything important, but
Mm.
um I think that oh man, everything is like I was being like just thrown into it, you know. It's something that you have to experience rather than intellectualize a lot of time, I think. So I was just being given like the very basic tool set to be able to work a text. And I'm not like absolutely pro level. Although I did it in a record time, there's still a lot of integrating that I need to do. And I'm happily still doing and reading so much. I'm like I've been reading well, I was gifted, the library gifted me, Apollodorus's library
Oh, I love
and both
Apollos.
volumes. So I've never read that, and it's
Mm.
been nice to have an idea of all these different, references, and
The best
in a very
Best way to read Apollodorus is like
Mhm.
sit down with Apollodorus and take out, go to Perseus Tufts and there's
Yeah.
The Greco-Roman Dictionary of Biography. This
Okay.
is like one of the best sources ever. So anytime you see a guy you don't know, stick it
Hmm.
in there and you'll get like every
Oh,
single
nice.
reference. That's how I did it. And it was like, it's just so mind-blowing. And Apollodorus just has so many wild kind of ideas and things that no one really talks about,
Yeah.
like it's an Apollodorus where I found, okay, so this was something I wanted to talk to you about because it was just
Mhm.
so wild. So recently I
Okay.
finished reading Herodotus finally. And
Nice.
Herodotus tells us that the Colchians, the Colchians are actually Egyptians. Okay, they're actually
Wow.
Egyptians. And there's this weird pharaoh, Seosata or something. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but they're actually from Egypt and they traveled and go there. And where it gets even wilder, though, is in Apollodorus. What they tell us is that the ancient Egyptians used to do the sacrifices like Hekate did in Colchis. So this is where those rites come back because when Heracles first shows up in Egypt, they try to freaking murder him. They try to put him on a stake because he's a pirate, you know?
Wow.
This is just
Yeah.
something like
Uh-huh.
all this stuff started to click for me because what you recognize now with what I recognize with Colchis is this is where East meets West. Why is Colchis
Yeah.
so important?
Yeah.
It's the Alexandrian magic meets the Greek magic meets the Persian Indian magic. All of those
Mhm.
places now coalesce in that one area, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so cool.
It is really cool. Yeah, I love all of that stuff. I love
Right?
learning
And you
about
you
all of
you,
it.
you
I've
never
still
get
been
this until you go into these places like Apollodorus. And like, what blew my mind, it's like Ammon told me to read Apollodorus. You know what they told me when I took my humanities degree? Don't read the pseudo Apollodorus. Don't read it because it's not authentic, right?
yeah.
It's not it's a nonsense text. But that's so ignorant. The same people also told me don't read the Dionysiaca. It's much later. It's a
Yeah.
nonsense text. Academia is
Yeah.
such a narrow viewpoint, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so doing this is it's a big FU to academia. It's a big FU to any sort of system that is trying to control what people are receiving. And I think the point of Ammon doing it in 4 weeks is that he's able to produce somebody that can now work with an actual text and translate. And what are these students able to do that? Are they being equipped with that skill to preserve Mother Greek? And that's a thing that I am passionate about, and I am excited for that to be accessible and available for everyone else to take their own time, because I wanted to also show that it was can you okay I wanted to show that it was also humanly possible, because I knew if Ammon's muse was real, which I am very aware of personally, but I wanted to be like, if you tap into that, and allow yourself to be open to the magic that's embedded within the language, which is musical, which is it's inspiring itself, it's alive, then it will carry me through. And I think that's what I was clinging to, especially toward the end. I was clinging to like all right, I'm just gonna show up. I don't have everything memorized. I don't know anything. And then here you just open it and you can read it. Okay, wow, I just did that. Like, are you serious? And then I would have all these mind blowing, epiphanies, which I mean, all of this is like a really nerdy thing, and it's a
I
really
mean,
niche type of thing to talk about, but it is like um magical, and I don't know how to explain it, but
you've been given
I
the
don't know.
eyes
I'm
to see, the ears to hear, right? This is such a big thing,
yeah,
like, I talked about this with, my wife, Rhea, all the time because it's like people can't see the cult of the Great Mother, the snake goddess cult, staring them right in the literal effing face in every
yeah,
aspect of our culture across history. But you take
absolutely, yeah.
you take some time and you learn the Greek, even just the myths, and all of this starts to become apparent. If you learn the
Hmm.
language, then not only does it become apparent, but you are given the tools to your own salvation, you know?
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
is
When
the
you're
love.
aware of all of this, then it'll start coming to you. It'll start approaching you too,
When
and
the muse will reveal to you, like, okay, before Ammon, I've been a magical nerd my whole
mhm.
life, really deep
Oh
into the
yeah,
occult.
I know.
Okay, right.
Hmm.
So years and years and years ago, I was when I first picked up and read Alpheus Levi Transcendental Magic, right,
Oh yeah.
talking about all the alchemy. I recently went and reread it again. I
Oh yeah.
didn't get it at all. I totally missed it. The Cult of the Sun. He references the Magi, he references Medea, and he gives her full credit. And I didn't pick up on it. I
What?
didn't
Wow,
see
I'll
it.
have to look at that. Nice.
He calls her in her chariot. It's freaking wild. He says
That's cool.
everything goes back to the true cult of the sun, and it's all about Amun Ra, all about Amun Ra and Neith Isis, right? And you can see
Nephisis,
this,
yeah.
right? Like one text that Ammon got me to read that blew my mind
Mhm.
was Isis and Osiris by Plutarch,
Okay, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because when you read this and you have a strong understanding of the Greek myths, like you could see the parallels to the Homeric hymn to Demeter. You could see the parallels in the Eleusinian mysteries. All of a sudden, it's the same bloody thing. It's all the same
Mhm.
story. We're
They
talking about the
correspond, yeah.
same. You're talking about the same dying and rising God, from Amun to Osiris to Adonis to Dionysus to Attis. It's all the same.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
all the cult of the sun, you know, the real sun. But the problem is we got this Saturnian black pirate nonsense that's like distorted our reality.
I know, and I feel like there's so much of that I still need to peel off of my eyeballs, with a potato peeler. And I definitely I've been reading more Arcana Mundi, and I've been reading
That's such a good
oh,
text.
Hippolytus. Yeah, that's the
Oh,
one that
man.
yeah. And I really didn't know anything about that one before I started reading it, but I've been pleasantly surprised. But
Now you're getting into the savior magic, right?
yes.
Artemis of Soteria, because this is something that is so wild. The teleportation of hip. Have you dug deep into Verbius yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay. Hippolytus is one of the most interesting characters because this was a while back. Remember, Ammon sent me on that quest to find the secret name of Rome.
Oh yeah.
I can't reveal anything, but how I found the secret name of Rome was by going into the depths of the foundation. And it's all about this kind of stuff with dealing with with okay. Um there's magic that's happening right there at the Grove of Aricia. There's something in the if you go back, right, everything keeps coming back to the fields of Laterre, the swamps of Latinum, and this
Oh,
is where the
yeah.
real Babylon is created. You first get this in the story of Tacita, it,
Mhm.
which is in Ovid's Fausti, and Tacita is it's Lucifer. It's the story of
Yeah.
Lucifer. But have you read? Did I ever show you that one, Fausti,
No,
Tacita?
I don't.
Anyway, it's
Maybe.
this wild story about the goddess. It's kind of like, okay, basically what you get is you have all these nymphs who are all
Mhm.
connected to these rivers around Rome, and
Yeah.
Jupiter comes down and he basically tells all these nymphs, I'm going to rape you and have my way with you, and you're going to have to put up with it and like it. I'm going to do it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, what's going on? And so all of the nymphs are freaking out, and Zeus chooses one of them, which happens to be this nymph Lala. Lara is her name. Her name means the babble of the brook, Lady Babylon, basically.
Oh,
But
very
okay, this is
nice.
where, right, Lara, Lala. Anyway, magical
Mhm.
stuff.
Oh,
She decides to
very
speak
nice.
up to Jupiter. She stands up to Jupiter, to
Mm.
Zeus, and tells him to fuck off. She goes to Hera and tells her that he plans to rape the nymphs. And for this reason, Tacita has her tongue ripped out. And this is where things get really freaky. And it parallels the
Yeah.
story of Lucifer entirely. She gets her tongue ripped
Mm.
out. Then Mercury takes her to Latinum, brings her to Earth. She falls to Earth, to Latinum, and they give birth to she gets pregnant by Mercury and gives birth to the Lares, to the spirits, to the
Wow.
spirits, right? To the Manes, the spirits of the dead, to the daimons. So this is like
Nice.
a
Yeah.
creation myth in
Wow.
Latin. But you get all of these wild things keep happening right at the same spot. So then you fast forward, okay? Apollo goes and he destroys Delphi, right? He
Mhm.
kills
Yeah.
or he displaces the Delphine Drakon. Who is the Delphine Drakon?
Mhm.
The Delphine Drakon is Themis, the goddess Themis.
Yeah.
And if you go to the Latin, what do they tell you? They tell you what happens to Themis. She hooks up with Mercury. What's going on here? Just like Tacita hooks up with Mercury. Then her and her magic son go to Rome. They flee. They go to Rome and they set up the first Pelasgian city on the Palatine Hill that's gifted to them by King Faunus, right?
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
you get all this wild stuff. Fast forward again, now we get into the Verbius myth. So, Hippolytus, right? Lover of
Mhm.
Artemis. He's
Yeah.
blames his stepmother, freaks out on him, falls in love with him, says that he raped her,
Mhm.
goes to his father, says this, kills herself, right? So for this reason, what happens? Hippolytus is now cursed by, right, Poseidon, and he's ripped apart by his
Mm.
horses. But in the Roman version, it doesn't end there. Artemis Soteria shows up, teleports him to Later, to the grove at Erysia, changes his name to Verbius, and makes him Rex Nemorensis, the high priest of Diana, the first
Wow.
high priest of Diana. And this is not just myth, because the Roman
The
emperors
hell?
talk about how the Rex Nemorensis is a real deal and is a huge problem later on in the histories. At one point, one of the
Wow.
emperors actually frees one of the gladiators to go kill the current Rex Nemorensis, because the way that it works is a freed slave has to be the next Rex, and they have to win it
Right.
by trial by combat. So when the Roman empires don't, when the
Wow.
Roman emperor doesn't like him, goes and gets him killed. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you all this wild stuff about the all of
Yeah,
this shit
thank
going
you.
back to Rome and all this shit with these nymphs. It's just so wild. And it all goes back to Themis. It all goes back to this oracular power, right? The dragon.
Mhm.
Anyway, and yeah, Verbius is part of this. Hippolytus is part of this, and that that Artemis savior magic, she keeps saving everyone. This is something that people seem to miss. She saves Iphigenia, and right, there's a version, one of the plays that got lost, one of the great playwrights is this guy Stesichorus. And Stesichorus actually writes a version of the myth of Helen, of the story of Helen, where Helen doesn't go to Troy. Artemis saves her, teleports her to Egypt, where she becomes a priestess of Isis, and a phantom goes in her place. So all of these stupid men
Wow.
are fighting over a phantom.
Very nice. That's
Anyway,
awesome.
sorry for the
Yeah, I
rant
can't
there.
wait to make those. No, I love it. Thank you for showing me that. It's amazing how much that you have the capacity to remember all
Oh
of
God.
these stories. I'm always impressed because you're bringing something and reading something really consistently, and I admire that thing. Yeah, I
I'm
think
just
that's
a
cool.
voracious reader. That's always been my thing. That's
Yeah,
my,
yeah.
I'm just a nerd. And,
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
find this stuff just so incredible. And the
same.
thing is when you start to have, like, I don't even have the language skill that you do. I just have a taste. I can tune the vowels. I can go to the lexicons, and I can pick this apart and find stuff. You know, the
Yeah.
thing is that no one
Mhm.
reads this stuff. They don't bother to check the source
Yeah.
directly. They trust what other people tell them. You know,
Yeah. I think the season is upon us to bring people to, look for themselves. I think that's also why it's cool that that's one thing that Ammon teaches. It's like, "Oh, you don't believe me? Just read it yourself. Go, look, here's the text. Here's where you can find it. Here's where you can figure out what something means. And if you don't understand further, then here are people who can help you." You know, I
right?
I think it's cool. Um, and
Well, that was
I
one of the
think that I
most.
want.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good.
There's just a bit of a delay, so sorry if I interrupt you.
That's okay.
Um, I was just going to add, like, one of the most inspiring things that Ammon ever taught me about was this idea of dragons. The
Oh
idea that
yeah.
none of this was lost, that there are people who, and again, you see this in the language. You got to go to the language. What does dragon
Mm.
mean? To see,
The Dracaena, yeah.
right? They're the ones who see with the eyes to see. That's it, right? That's all the
Yeah.
dragon is. The one with the oracular vision,
The the
you know? But there are
the
people who
temple
see
guardians,
clearly,
yeah.
the temple guardians, right? Well, that's the role they play, like the original
Mhm.
Medusa is the temple guardian,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mhm.
you can see this, for
Yeah.
example, in the Greek theology. Coronadus just tells you this. Dragon means to see, and the dragons were all people. And it's like no one bothers to read the Greek theology. you know,
Right.
it's like that's Stoic
Yeah.
philosophy. It's hundreds of years after the fact. It's not authentic. But meanwhile, he's doing the actual language work, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
when you get into this stuff, like he showed me that there are dragons across history, and
For sure.
the first one that was inspiring to me was Christine de Pizan. She that
Oh,
text
yeah.
blew my flipping mind. She teaches you
And
how
you
to
just
read.
started the book club.
Yeah, I started a book club reading her because
Yeah.
to me, she's foundational literature because she shows you how to approach a text with reasoned eyes and how to trust your
Yeah.
own life, right? If someone this is a woman, and if the text is lying to you about femininity, then you fucking know. But
Right.
a lot of people don't know how to think like that. You know what I mean? You have to read a
Right.
text critically, and she gives you all of the tools, and she shows you
That's
how to
cool.
do the antiphrasis, right? Like flip the pole and see the truth about the story. you know?
Yeah.
And this is how you
The
can transform
inversion.
and be into a hero, right?
Mhm. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about that. I'm all
Right?
about doing a scientific approach of everything, and um, yeah, I have an affinity to get a little too woo-woo sometimes, but um, I like
You're talking
this
to
season of
me.
yeah, until it being intellectually like, okay, let's focus on how to approach things scientifically, and but I naturally approach things and study things from a somatic and experiential and you know, hands-on type of way where I mean, the tools that I use to study and to learn are not just reading and writing, um, but what helped me get through it was also like using music and using I thought, we had this this moment in one of the classes where Ammon was like, What are you doing that is making you so successful in this? Like, I need to know. Just tell me, like, straight up." And I was like, "I don't know." But really, in my own time, I'm just like being a crazy person, repeating lists, putting it to music, creating a beat, singing songs, using all these different techniques. But I also thought, I said to him, I was like, well, if it's a musical language, then that should be something that we can tap into and use for it to be received in our brains in a physiological way. And I also took into consideration like the effect of frequency vibrating the brain and its effect with different tonal frequency, if you want to say it like that. And if you if you repeat different sounds with the tongue while you're writing or while you're using movement, then your brain almost unlocks something that it is able to remember easier. And I think that is maybe like a way that you are carving some sort of new neural pathways or something easier. But I that's something
There's a lot
that
to
really helped
this.
me.
There's a lot to this
Yeah.
because, when you dive deep, like into the Greek magic, like in the
Yeah.
PGM, for example, like so many of the Babel words, right?
Mhm.
They're not meant to have meaning. They're meant to have sound, right? It's not that they
Mhm.
don't mean anything. They're invoking a
Yeah.
power. They're calling in a
Uh-huh.
radiance, right? They're
Yeah.
beyond meaning at this point, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's always
Definitely.
something that I thought was wild. Like, now that you have this kind of language, are you gonna go and play around with like the Orphic hymns or the PGM?
I mean, here it is. Here's my
Right.
PGM. Yeah, I mean, I'll
Are we
probably
gonna see you riding an
explore.
incubus anytime soon?
Mm, probably not, but
I'm
you
just
never
teasing.
know. Um, uh, yeah, so trying to think. Were there other things that I'm trying to think about in the course that I wanted to share?
Mhm.
Um, well, there were I don't know. I think a lot of people had a mental breakdown during it because it's so much. How are you going to even go to the next step, next unit if you haven't even had the first one understood and then oh, the next one and then the next one. Then it becomes piled. How are you I'm saying you like all of us that are learning able to shed off the pressure or the anxiety because also at the end of it we're talking and thinking, okay, how could it have been different if circumstances were different? If I wasn't doing it under such immense pressure where I'm being watched, listened to by an audience, I'm having tabs kept up on me. I'm having
Right.
people
You're a guinea pig,
um,
quite
I,
literally.
well, yeah, I'm being a lab rat, but I'm also like, people are cheering me on. They're sending me messages. They're like, hey, she has got an exam tonight. How are you? See if she can pass that next one. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll see. Like panic attack, crying fit for an hour, and then go for it. And I think it's like I had a shit ton of um whips, people psychically whipping me to continue on. But in order for me to not have a complete collapse, I just do a lot of what it's called fists of anger. Did I tell you about that before?
No, no, please elaborate. Is this more
All
your
right.
guys' Discordian fun?
No, it's actually a Kundalini thing.
Oh,
It's
cool.
it's just like a to move your body, move your energy, move your breath, and get all the weight and stress out in one big huff and puff. And it's like you do these fists, you squeeze your thumb and do these fists over your head, and you breathe really hard in and out and pump your diaphragm, and you do it every arm over for like 3 minutes, and then you feel like, oh yeah, like I could do this. And I don't know. I was doing that. One story that I heard of when I learned that as like a practice when you get overwhelmed, was like somebody was going through really stressful um divorce, and they would do that every hour on the hour, and they'd get like emotional or anything like that, just moves it, and then you can continue on. But yeah, I think also like applying all the things that I'm learning from every aspect, whether it's, something from that lineage, which is obviously hoo-ha, boo-ha, but using the stuff that works, and picking out the elements of like, okay, yeah, why don't we try something creative? Why don't we, you know, do something visually stimulating, so that I'm having all senses activated to then carry out unit 12 or whatever I'm doing. And yeah, so I think that's an important aspect for people to take into consideration when the free course comes out, is like, yeah, if you want to do this in 4 weeks, that's what you got to do, is just use what works for you in all manners of sense, and have people keep you accountable, and ask for help when you need it, and use the resources available. So there's that. But I there were a couple times I also like, I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is even impossible. I feel like I'm doing a really bad job." And then I realize, Amon's just also a really good teacher that wants to see you succeed. You know, I don't think that he just
Absolutely.
was like, you're never gonna make it through. Blah, like I'm superior. Like, no, he's not like he was not a toxic type of teacher like that, like I had in high school. It's not like somebody who wants to see you fail. He is somebody that is, knows you and knows your soul, and will be like, here, you're interested in this, I can equip you and I can put you on your path. And I think that's what he really sought to do with
Yeah,
me.
that's
There were
beautiful.
points that he was like, Dr. Scarborough taught me this, and I want to share this with you. And there's just a lot of like really cool moments, uh, like I accidentally caught him. It's like, I beat Ammon, and one thing, I think there was like two times where he said something, and then I was like, "Well, I thought it was this," and he's like, "Oh no, I was wrong. You were right. What? Like how?" And usually it was on accident. Let's be
Of
fair,
course, but
but
that just means you're paying attention. You're absorbing the material. That's amazing.
yeah. So I don't think it's like I'm. And what I really wanted to share out of all of this, about of being the guinea pig, is that anybody any normie person, any regular Joe can pick up the textbook and put in the heart. Because I was putting in like 3 to 5 hours of study time a day outside of the 3 hour classes that we were having every night. And
Wow.
and taking care of 5 kids. So and going through a lot of stress. So I had a lot of reasons to be like, I give up. But you know, y- there's no excuse at this point. You can do it. You like there's no everyone is equipped and everyone may have like an excuse. Like
Right.
I'm not as smart or I'm not as you know
Oh no, we're losing Maddie here with the bad internets, but hopefully it comes back. Maddie was definitely focused and able to really dedicate herself to the Greek, and that was incredible. But she is making a very good point. Anyone who takes the time and puts in the effort, that's the biggest thing when you're trying to master something is to put in the effort. You know, you commit yourself, then okay, what's going on? Oh, we're still waiting for Maddie to come back. Oh, here we go. Awesome. Oh, can we hear you? Oh, here we go.
wow.
Okay. We got it
I'm
working
here.
now.
Wow, that was rough. I did not even know I had everything was just glitching out. But I was just saying that, you know, if
Anyone
you
can do
everyone
this,
has their
right?
own doubts, anyone can do it. And I think it depends on time and willpower, but also like serious like devotion to benefiting the collective because all I want to do is help other people learn the stuff too. And yeah.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
So from here, you plan to dive deep into the Bible. Are you going to give it, So you're starting with Matthew. Have you started translating anything yet? Like since you've gotten,
No. Well, I've been working on just reading for fun. And I'm
right.
reading I'm Apollodorus Hippolytus and other English translations for fun throughout the week until well, Ammon is creating a reading group of a few of us. We'll see. Of more people, I'm just going to be thrown into a group of way more advanced people, I think, and see how I can learn in that group. Um, and so I'm waiting for that. I think it'll be some type of other intensive going through an untranslated apocryphal text. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see uh what we'll uncover through the language, but also, after that, we'll see where the path lands. I'm kind of just being open at this point. I have a lot of ideas and things that I want to do um with this and in the future, especially with the library. I want the Bible, the New Testament, and especially the New Testament to be translated from the Hellenic lens, from
New
the
Satanic Bible, right?
and the way that it's not flattened. But there are just so many layers and correspondences that it's hard to
Mhm.
like put it all in there without it being flattened, or it would have to be some sort of hyper poetic um expanded edition of every single chapter of the New Testament to unravel all of it. I think there's so much to even that we're going to uncover that has not been properly translated into English that is just in plain sight. So I'm excited to do that. But also working through, I want to, the other things that I'm planning on doing this year are, I have the opportunity to start sharing more publicly. I'm getting thrown all these opportunities. So a lot of like I was on a podcast in our local news last month, which was
Yeah,
really
I saw your
cool.
local news thing. You posted that on YouTube. That was cute. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I got to talk about like Lady Babylon and stuff. And after that, I was invited to I get to share or preach at a UU church. So that's coming up in September. So I'm excited to be like the Antichrist or something over there
That is gonna
through
be
them.
funny because you're gonna
Um,
go to one of these places that accepts
yeah.
everyone, including
hmm
Christ, and you're gonna be saying, "Yeah, but you
Exactly.
know that Christ."
I'm more so I've been trying to think of like, okay, how do I just respectfully but also be like, here, let's question everything. Let me just show you something and then throw up, I don't know, Mark
Right,
14 or who knows? Where's the door? Where's the doorway? So I'm excited for these different opportunities that are coming up, but I'm also working through transcribing or creating the satanic initiation, the selection of the Sybil of Lady Babylon, creating that as like a readable form in the Soma library. So every episode of
you're working
that
on
will
the
be
you're doing the
it will
transcription, or
be it's not just a transcription, it's cut out all the ums, rights, do you understand? But it's
Mhm.
kept all the basic points. It also has linked every single text that is mentioned and breaks everything down. So that's a project that we're working on slowly. And eventually we want to turn that maybe into a physical book, but that's a long ways away. And it's not top priority right now. That's a
Right, a
secret.
pipe
But
dream.
yeah, so I think that we're doing a lot of different projects, all of us, and oh yeah, and Ammon is traveling now, so that's
Right.
gonna be fun too. I'm excited because he's come to Ohio, so I get to
Oh, when is
meet
it
him.
coming to Ohio?
I guess this sometime this summer in
I'll
June.
have to maybe come visit
Yeah,
when he's down there, since I've got
yeah,
family there now.
yeah. Well, he's releasing. Yeah, you do. Whenever he's releasing the dates and stuff, we'll have to like keep tabs.
We'll have to keep tabs because we do have to get to meet up. I'm gonna be in Ohio next
Yeah.
month, actually,
Oh,
so we
yeah,
need to get
yeah,
together, you, Chase and I, and Rhea. That'll be awesome.
yeah, yeah. That would be sick. Yeah.
I still gotta
Oh,
see your
well,
bookstore, Rose Circle Books.
yeah. Rose Circle Rare Books. Yeah, yeah. That's and you got to see the mural too. Yeah.
Right, right,
hmm
and of course, I wanna see your matrix, your magical matrix grid.
Yes, the Matrix panel. Yeah, it's in the basement. Yeah, man, we're having a lot of crazy like psychic wars over here with the Matrix. There's a
Oh,
friend
what?
of yeah, a friend of ours was making another panel. Just again, not doing it following uh Dr. Agnew, cocksucker T. Goldwater Pickens rules, but in his own way and cutting stuff up and it's been really distorting the matrix that has been established by him. So it's been really interesting because now he's in jail right now, so that's not good. So we called him
Oh,
up and we're
wow.
like, "Hey, can you burn that?" And I guess he's like, "Yeah, all right, I'll do that." Like it's it's been really crazy right now, but it is also just fun and it's absurd and but it's also real and you can also really mess things up with it. And I think there's like a part like it intersects like, oh, where's free will and where there's consequence and everything line up with magic and there you go. You created something, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? You're seeing the power of mind and thought, and when it doesn't even
Mhm.
matter if it's absurd. Now, but what's always wild to me is it's so much more powerful when you connect to something that is real. As much
Mhm.
as I love
Absolutely.
Discordian thought,
Oh
we've been
yeah.
given the Greek, which is,
Mhm.
you know,
So
there's something
grounding and
tangible about the moon and the sun. These
yes,
aren't egregores, right?
exactly.
But yeah, it's so
Yeah.
wild. Um,
Right.
Are you gonna do any of the magic? Because this is for me, the whole
Yeah.
impetuous to gain the language would be to engage the magic.
Um,
Um,
well, aren't I already?
oh,
By
you of course you are, but
simply, yeah,
of course you are.
but simply engaging with it is it's yeah, it opens portals itself. And I think that yeah, I'm gonna try. I mean, I haven't seriously sat down and like picked out something that I wanted to do in the PGM, for example. But I've used different imagery in my own practices that I do. Um, because yeah, as you know, I've talked extensively about like my visualization practices and whatnot. Different journeys and stuff that's expressed in the PGM, I like to plug into some of the work that I do. So, I mean, I'm just kind of stealing, um,
I mean, everything
in
is
a way.
don't who cares about the theft? Have fun, play. But, like,
Yeah. I
the
think
thing
that
to
when it was
learn.
also created with that intent of like, here's what we
Yeah,
did, and here you don't, I mean, here, there's no strict,
well,
I mean, there's
I
rules,
talked
but
about
there's, yeah,
well, this is the thing, it's
it's not
like,
framed the same.
well, one of the things that I think a lot of modern people get too into is they think that those are prescriptive texts, that this is what
Yeah.
you're supposed to do in a very literal sense. And
Hmm.
rather than that they are setting you up with all of the ritualized elements and that you can play with this and that you can experiment with this, and that's
Yeah.
really what you want to be doing. The more you engage with magic, the more you have the ability to have fun with it. And like a lot of people get
Absolutely.
really scared of something like the PGM, but it's like, you know, have some
Yeah.
fun with it and play with some of this ridiculous stuff. And remember, like, keep like half the time the ancient Greeks themselves were substituting out all of these sacrifices. They weren't doing them. It's like they're using other means, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to be doing exactly what these texts are saying. You can have some, like for example, I told you about the Saturn ritual I did in Mad Ammon. I
Oh
did not
yeah, the
do that.
crossroads, right?
Yeah, I did not do
Yeah.
that the exact way it was written. I did not go kill no cat and put a heart in a phylactery. I
I
made a
saw
yeah.
that one in there. I was reading it. I'm like, yeah, that's the pork bone.
Yeah. What I did was I went and got some ribs, and then I took the rib and then just burned in it with a wood burning iron.
Oh, nice.
I made a heart out of my cat's fur. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so have some fun. Another thing I did that worked for me a while back was some dream magic. It said to take some tin and to inscribe on tin. So I took some tin foil and
Mm-hmm.
inscribed on the tin foil with my nail, put it under. You're supposed to put it in a linen sheet. I used a bed sheet. Totally worked. I had wild dreams.
Wow.
It's like,
Wow. Nice.
try it out, see what
That's
works, play
good.
around with it.
Yeah.
I'm guaranteed I'm saying the words wrong, but if it's working, what the heck does it matter?
Exactly. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no rules. I made when I did that presentation at the Buckland Museum, and I made that.
Mm,
I just used the there's an invocation, and it's like near the beginning to Apollo, and we used that. We used the really long poem in there, and we did like a whole little ritual prayer thing. But I created I inscribed all the Greek letters and made the pendulum thing, and we did that. And it was like, you know, if nobody gets any results, that's fine. I'm doing this just to be like for my own enjoyment of doing it. I'm not trying to um, cause anybody chaos or confusion or anything or manipulate their
right.
brain. Yeah, so I think that also has to do with, what are you using these images to produce in your life, and how will it affect the world around you? And because the amount of influence that even your thoughts and the way that you carry yourself in your life has out in your environment, it can crazily alter things. Um, it's just from the simple like words are spells to yeah, doing a spell. And it doesn't have to be spooky, and it doesn't have to be overly complex, and doesn't have to always be, you know, follow this guidebook and you'll get this result, like like cheesy, or like I don't know. I don't know a specific like cheesy witch book, or what I'm saying, that you get from Sam's Club or something like that. But do what works,
Yeah.
and I'm just excited to keep reading and finding the magic that's already there. And one thing that there's just so many there's so many synchronicities as well. Like something that I was always really obsessed with was John Keats, and
Oh man, I love John Keats. He's got the fancy. He's got fancy, man. He's got his muse. That guy, he's dripping with the muse. That's
yeah,
amazing to bring up
so
Keats.
I think that's probably like what drew me to John Keats, because that was probably like the first mm, poet, like long form poet that I had read when I was a teenager. And my friend in high school, she was like obsessed with this movie about John Keats. And so I watched it, and I'm like, I gotta acquire. I'm like, oh, I go to my local school library, and I'm like, do you have Endymion? They're like, what are you saying? And like, oh man, like I'll just have
That's
to find it
amazing.
online. But then
Good besides
there's a poem that's Lamia. Have you read
Yeah.
that? That one's my
Oh yeah.
favorite. And I'm like, I don't know why. I like this one. And then now I return to it, and I'm like, oh my God.
Now
Yeah,
you're seeing it as the vampire, right?
yeah,
Totally
half
different
snake,
lens,
half virgin over here. Yeah, of
right?
course I'm drawn to it, like way before I even know what it's talking about. Yeah, so many cool things like that. Or
But
like
this is one of the things when you get the muse. That was another thing. Okay, so like before I got into this stuff, I was so
Mhm.
poetry is like my like I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
And my favorite poet was always Poe. And I
Oh
had like
yeah.
obsessed over Poe.
Hmm.
And then Ammon was just like, boom, well, you haven't read Poe. You haven't read Poe at all. And I had not read Poe. I didn't recognize he talks about Ultima Thule, talks about Ultima Thule and bringing back the sun, just straight up. He references the nymph Ligeia and tells you how to summon the muse and resurrect the dead. Like
That's
it's
awesome.
freaking insane. Like,
Oh yeah, Poe.
whoa.
It's really crazy how many poets and artists, and of those generations that weren't so long ago, they still carried that knowledge, and that thread of what the myths
Look
Greek
at though.
mythos.
Look at when you read these great romance, like most when you read the great anytime I'm looking at most of these dragons, there's a
Mhm.
couple things that connect them. Like what connects Poe, Byron, Mary Shelley? They
Yeah,
all know the Greek. They all have a solid foundation in ancient Greek mythology, and they're playing in that milieu. All of them,
love it.
right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, and it's like it's wild. It's wild, wild stuff. And when you know this kind of stuff, you can go like I just told you the story of Tacita.
Hmm.
Go read Lord Byron's Cane, and it's the
Yeah,
same story.
absolutely.
It's the same
Yeah.
story.
Oh my God. Right. That's just an initiation in of itself.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But what does that initiation tell you to do? It tells you to do what Tacita did. You stand up and you look that God in the face and you tell him his fucking evil is not good.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And that's like the most empowering shit imaginable. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. But
Exactly.
seriously, you
I
know?
want to do that. I want to do that same thing and to the world, to this,
Right?
to the underbelly of the roots of all Abrahamic falsity, and and not to say that those people are necessarily all bad, but I
No.
mean, I just would love to and bring light to it all, and
Well, it's just so sad to me because we read the Bible and there is beauty there. It's still a
yeah,
Greek
of
text, and
course,
there is still some amazing positivity there hidden between the not. You would never be able to sell it to people if it didn't have anything that was worthwhile. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I mean, like allow it to be read for once, um, and be understood for what it actually meant, and
Mhm.
that's not available to
No.
any of us right now. To anybody that's like, I want to read the Bible, you can't. Because unless you learn to look in the Greek, learn to read a lexicon, like sit down and take apart sentences, you don't really know what's going on and understand the what the everything that came before, everything that everyone like the writers were educated in, the things that were being repeated, um and I don't know, there's just a lot that has been dumbed down in order to manipulate and control and create a whole new story that now it's like you're evil. Oh, are we evil because we're just reading what it says now?
It's evil because this is the thing that gets
It
me.
goes against their story.
Well, what to me, Herodotus tells us, the Bible shows us clearly. Why are these things evil? Because of the abduction and the rape of women, because
Yeah.
of the denigration of the feminine. That is the central opening theme of the Bible. That is the literal start of history in Herodotus.
Oh,
And this is
I
the
meant,
fundamental
um,
problem, you know?
yeah, yes.
But sorry, go ahead.
I meant more like from their point of view, why do they view
Right.
anyone outside of themselves as evil? But yes, that exactly.
You know,
And yeah, the normalization of abuse within the systems of the church has to be stopped at the root. And that's the pure exposure of what Jesus was doing and what Jehovah was doing, and the culture of trafficking and all, I don't know. There's the rape of
no, but no, you're getting at something
daughters.
real here because like this is so important. I remember, okay, I've had several fallouts with people over this Ammon stuff over the years, and I've stuck
Yeah,
with it. And people
mhm,
always are asking me why. Why
yeah,
would you, like what is it that has convinced you? And it's because Christianity, this cult of patriarchy is fundamentally not good. It's evil. And like I remember getting in a fight, I won't name names, but everyone
mhm,
knows these people. I got
yeah,
in fights with people in the brothel and they were like pointing out to me flaws or trying to prove to me mistakes. And I
yeah,
just said, I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter if even if Ammon was lying about everything, I would still support him in the satire, denigrate this shit, burn it all down. I don't care. That's how I
yeah,
feel about it. This stuff is not
exactly.
good and it needs to be called out. It's
Yeah,
and it begins with that destruction of the feminine. Like once you understand the magical cycles of the sun and the dying and rising sun, then you recognize that the entire feminine has been stricken from the magical path, completely gone. And all
yeah,
we got is Addis. And everyone is supposed to love Jesus and castrate themselves and become fucking addicts. And this is like half of the story. Half of the story. We've destroyed the entire alchemical process. How can we reform the divine androgyne? How can we achieve ionic life if we can't even become full human beings? Because we
Exactly.
won't even accept our femininity, you know?
That, and we're stripped away from uh, access and normalcy of education and reason and connection to nature. Um, all of those things that are
Yeah,
being brought. And that's where the feminine comes in, is because uh, where you have womb wisdom, where you
yeah,
have um, experience and ritual and oracular vision and all of these things that are innately feminine, that are taken out of context or taken out of view entirely when you look at the Bible. And I mean, the first thing that I looked at in the Bible being Aphrodite was like, of course, is that my is that my direction then? Is that my what I'm being led to? The trail that I'm following is Venus, right? And I'm start looking at the rabbit holes, and I'm getting little hints here and there. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm still in the beginning stages of everything. You know, I'm still a beginner. I'm still quite a novice, but I'm still
yeah.
like, okay, I'm very much aware of everything that I need to digest, and it's like, wow. But
Yeah,
um,
but your life is Lady Babylon, man. You're the single mother who learned the Greek. You're doing it.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
think about yourself. Okay, quit comparing yourself in terms of knowledge. You're
yeah.
actually engaging in the disciplined practice and are changing your life. You got Mysterion tattooed on your head. No one else is doing the crap that you're doing. Give yourself more credit.
Oh
Seriously,
yes.
stand
Oh,
tall.
I mean, I'm talking. I
I know, I know.
understand. Yes, thank you. Um, but I can't get ahead of myself. I have to go
Right.
consistent so I don't get overwhelmed, and with learning, but also just picking up all these little pieces and all these references. That's why looking in the lexicon is cool, and learning how to use it in a way, because you can like, oh, where does it talk about fate? Oh, well, this is talking about not just chance, not just good luck. It's talking about this embodiment. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole that is embedded into the physics of our existence. And well, okay, well, then let's just follow and see where that goes. But um, I don't know. There's just a lot to
There's so much.
that. I mean, I have to focus, you know. I have to focus
Mhm.
and be like, okay, well, show me now what's next. And I'm being led into this nice calm um before the storm, I think right now, where I'm like just integrating the things that I've learned grammatically, and now I'm able to return to like, oh, I was reading the apocalypse of John. Now I can open it up and I know what words, like what it's saying, because I did it at the beginning before the course. I was just reading through it, just practicing reading it, and I'm like, I don't know what it's talking about. And now I can open it and be like, oh, I know what it's saying. That's crazy.
Right.
Like, oh, it must have just, it's like
You
epiphanies,
you
like million little epiphanies all at the same time. Um,
you've
yeah,
constructed your
raining down.
foundation and now you get to build your city of Babylon, you know?
Yeah, so,
You get to
yeah,
build your tower, right? You get to construct it and you get to re-engage all of these myths from your own unique perspective, right?
yeah, hmm yeah,
And that's truly 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 empowering, you know? And the big thing
yeah.
for me that I recognize through this Ammon work, right? Like that
Mhm.
feminine side has been lost, but it hasn't at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Medea is there. And if you
It's
can look at that story through the lens of, like, if you treat it in the same way you treat the Addis story, all of a
Mhm.
sudden that cycle completes itself. Just as the masculine has to reject greed, castrate itself, and come into empowerment, the feminine has to reject salvation and dependence and come into authority. She has to rise and become the king, the emperor. And that's how she ascends the stars, right? Because
Mhm.
if you do both, then you become that holistic self, right? You come into that totality of self. And that's
Yeah.
what this is really about. You know, the
Mhm.
Corey has to rise and overthrow the tyrant. And Addis has to reject his tyranny and submit to the mother, right?
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
when you do that, we got the full cycle. And this is the thing, what we get back, you know, what we're doing. We're healing the wounds of separation.
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
And this to me is like so fundamental, you know, like because we live in this world right now where it's like greed, pleonexia, not just greed, but pleonexia, which is the debasement of the other, the enslavement of the other for a person's own gain, has become a virtue, right? And this
Yeah.
in the ancient world is the greatest of evil, right? This is what Jason does to Medea,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what we've been like. We need to recognize this and reject that and have a whole flipping of our society, you know.
I feel it's already begun. There's a whole movement of women who are uh feeling the rage um
Yeah,
bubbling uh, from all sorts of aspects, whether it's in the home or in the education system or in politics right now, or in regards to their family and their daughters, or all sorts of things. Um, Even recognizing like uh, just blatant systemic disempowerment, I think,
yeah,
and
and we
rejection
need
of
to see what's
the
happening.
feminine. It's like we're still and in a world that is like, whatever, about women. It's like, yeah, yeah, you got 5 kids, do you deserve to eat, man? You know,
This is the thing. Do
like,
you
do you
deserve to
want to live
eat?
in a box
Listen to
forever?
what you just said to me. Listen to what you just said to me. Like in a healthy society,
Yeah,
children, the next generation, mothers, are the thing you would protect beyond all else. In a
yeah,
healthy society, children and mother are the future. That is the purpose. That's the whole reason why we're here, is to uplift that next generation. And we
yeah.
exist in a society that turns women into literal property and
Mhm.
reduces them to broodmares, wants them to be nothing more than fuck janitors. This is what our society views women as. And like, I'm enraged right now because, you know, my wife was just showing me in Ohio, they're passing laws right now to
Oh
ban
my God!
abortion
Did you
drugs.
see? Well, okay. Mhm. Uh, there's a bill in Ohio now. Yeah, that is talking about every pregnancy needs to
Yeah,
be
that's it. They're
documented.
monitoring every single one. It's so
Okay, they're
fucking
going to
draconian.
start monitoring. This is after you have. Okay, after you find out you're pregnant, you are required within a week to be seen by a doctor who will report it to the government that you are pregnant, and they will keep tabs to the end. And if your baby has been deceased by any sort of sudden or hidden or suspicious means, which can be determined by not court, not by law, but any coroner or um anybody who is at the scene will then blame the mother as being a murderer.
It's so evil, man.
And
It's beyond
so
evil.
yeah, that's not good. I'd say that's not good, because it's also that cutoff line is 10 weeks too. And I didn't even know. I mean, I was pregnant until I was like 14 weeks. with two of mine. So it's not
I know
good.
it's
I mean,
absurd. It's absurd. Like when you read the literature from a scientific perspective, they don't even talk about that time as a heartbeat. They talk about its heart flutterings, palpitations, because
exactly.
it's not, it's a grouping of cells. It's not a literal person yet. And so often women at that early stage, it's natural. Maybe it just doesn't catch. It doesn't catch to your uterine wall. It's like there's
Exactly.
so many things that could go wrong. Like, how could you
There's
claim that
some.
these women are murderers? It's just about imprisoning women. It's
It is.
literally just about
It's
that.
also about controlling,
Yeah,
um, controlling population and controlling women's bodies for whatever reason. And but also it's like, oh, I saw somebody, not to just keep talking about this, but I saw somebody who was like, why are we so focused on this when we should be focusing on people for perpetrating, you know, rapists and people like that are being abusive. There should be more accountability in um every sort of infrastructure, you know. Um, and I don't know. It's just it's not good. It's like it's not gonna. Well, you know what? Also, I would like to share is that everything has to be destroyed to be rebirthed. You know,
right.
it's gonna
Now's not a time to
unravel.
get, yeah. We don't want to fall into despair, you know?
No, no, no. But in order for this new creation and for this restoration of honoring the mother and honoring the hearth and honoring the muse as a collective, then there has to be a dismantling of all illusory and destructive systems that moves not through just the mind or not just because you're told it, but through experience in a manifested metaphysical magical way. And so
Yeah.
not through manipulation of structure or of of minds, as I feel like that's what governments do through, especially through time. That's what Christianity has boiled down to. I think that what will happen in the future will be this enlightenment as well as the disintegration of everything that we have known in order to rebuild something. And I think that's also like, oh, that's just very very bare physics of the cosmos.
Well,
It's very like, oh, recreation, destruction,
we can
creation,
see
destruction.
though too, it's like you're so right, and we see the cycles. One of the
Yeah,
things we can do though is we can look at the people who came before us and how
exactly.
did they how did
Learn.
they deal with these collapses, these cycles, and these falls. It's not been one collapse, right? If we
Mhm.
look at the previous Renaissance, how did they initiate the Renaissance? By learning Greek. And by doing what? Worshiping the gods. It literally starts with that guy, Gemistos Plethon, fleeing Byzantium with his copies of Homer to go share them with the Italians, right?
Wow.
He translates all of this stuff into the vernacular, and that sparks it. Then all of a sudden, Bruno is translating the Hermetic text. We get Petrarch who's translating Cicero, and now we've got a full on Renaissance because a
Yeah.
couple of men were paid to translate Greek texts and share them,
Yeah.
right? And
Well,
that's
what do you
that's all
think
it
it would
took.
look like if
What's
it
that?
happened? What do you think it would look like if it happened again? But now that we have all this access to information and to each other, what do you think that would look like if that were to be reborn?
I think it's going to look like a massive counterculture revolution. It's going to be punk rock as shit. In the previous eras, it had to be secret societies. It had to be underground. But now we can yell at this to each other in the middle of the town square. We can talk over YouTube. right? I think it's going to be people like you, young women, putting on the tattoos and running around and doing the magic. You know,
Yeah.
it's always been women who are at the forefront of these revolutions anyway, right? And it's usually minority women. And so those are the people who are going to come up and are going to push us, and they're going to do it when they're inspired. We got to give them the tools, and we got to be there supporting, you know, building that foundation, calling us back to these myths, you know. All these girls need to become Tacita and tell God to fuck off.
Yeah.
Literally, literally become the emperor themselves, build their own Tower Babel, you know?
Yes.
And but like that's what
Yeah.
we're doing. We're creating a countercultural revolution. We're creating our whole own, we're flipping the poles. You know, you can now read that Bible through the lens of antiphrasis. We can see the truth. You know,
Yeah.
that narcissism is small difference. You call the pagans baby eaters, you're the bloody baby eater. We got the proof.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
it's
so
just
much proof, in
ridiculous.
fact, that it's just nauseating.
It's nauseating. It's nauseating. But you
Yeah.
know, this is the reality is that the other thing we need to talk about too is just this, you know, this this Saturnian evil that keeps coming up. And people keep asking, why does this happen? And it comes from two specific things: fear of death and greed, and fear of change. And we need to remember this because what is Saturn? Saturn is the god of time. And what does Saturn try to do? He tries to stop time by eating his fucking children. What is the deep state doing right now? They're about to send a bunch of our children to go die so that they can maintain their own power. They're eating their own children so they can get rich off of the rest of us. This cycle has happened before and it will happen again. And we need to recognize that it's these fearful people who are obsessed with their own limited individual lives, who can't see the truth of reality in the cycles unfolding, who want to, what do the Christians tell you literally what they want to fucking do? We're going to stop time, create an absolute fascist hierarchy where Jesus is on top and all of his best favorite men get to rule and rape the rest of you. In what world is that a heaven for anyone? You
Yeah.
know? And but this is literally, it's always the same gross people who are afraid of death, who are afraid of change and won't accept it. And we need to reject that and come back into earth, come back into the sun, into the natural world, reject all these lies and all this greed of empowerment, give it up. The wealth is meaningless, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
sorry for
it's also
ranting.
just it's way easier when you realize that the physical world's not all there is. Yeah.
You know, it isn't all there is. And all that's the other thing. It's like you are, we are both children of earth and of the starry heavens. And
Mhm.
here's the reality: when your earth body dies, you will be reincarnated again and 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 again until you wake the fuck up, until you learn to be a grown ass adult. That's
Mhm.
really what the cycles are all about. You know, so we're all going to be stuck here until we can learn to stop being greedy abusers, until we can take control of ourselves and come into empowerment, you
Yeah.
know, because that's what Medea does. She kills the pirates and she rises to the stars. How does her story end? People never talk about this. She sets
There's
herself
several.
ablaze. But you
Yeah.
know, I know the
Yeah.
sources do, but I mean, like, you know, people
Yeah.
forget that part, right?
Yeah.
Where Estrella sets herself on fire and rises to the
Mm-hmm.
stars. Or sometimes she becomes a dragon and goes to the cave. But either way, she leaves the world behind with the promise to return, right? And it's that cycle of ascension. It's the cycles. It's always the cycles, you know?
Yeah.
We got to kill Saturn so the child, so Dionysus can be reborn. It's right there in the Saturnalia.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I've been feeling that heavy.
So we're coming up almost to 2 hours here, Maddie. Is there any last things you want to talk about with the Greek, or anything you want to leave with the audience, or what are you thinking?
Well, I want to say keep your eyes open for the things that are coming up that you can be involved in. that, Ammon's traveling now. And keep your eyes on the library. If you have questions, ask. And I don't know, just read as much as you can, I think. That's what I'm doing right now. And when the course comes out, don't feel like you're a failure if it takes you longer or something like that, because it's still going to take me a while to learn deeper everything that I went through, and I'm just excited, um, that I even got the chance to do that, and that I was picked, and that I got the experience, and um, yeah, and also just be brave to be open minded about what these texts say, and be brave to speak openly about it, because eventually it'll all come to light. you know
Yeah,
it's going to come a time where truth will be open, and no one can hide from it, so I'm excited to be a part of that.
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And yeah, everyone, study the Greek if you can. Maddie rose to the occasion. You certainly can, right? Dedicate yourself. And we look forward to more any projects or any videos that are upcoming, anything you want to promo in the near
Okay.
future.
um Not by name yet, but yeah, just Soma Library and Lady Babylon and all of that you can plug in. But um yeah, I'm gonna be just kind of withdrawing for a little bit to study on my own and do an even intensive, and see where that leads me. And yeah, I'm excited to collaborate as well. I'm collaborating a little bit with Bruno from Stones and Serpents as well. So
Are you going to
to
be on the
allow
podcast?
um possibly, but I'm we're just going to be introducing a lot of the elements and topics at a very bare minimum level to people who speak Spanish, and introducing stuff to his community, to their community, um, as like in progression, before the documentary comes out. So, yeah, making some short form type content to promote it and talk about it.
That's
So it's not
awesome.
just like, what is this strange journey that you guys are talking about? But yeah, so working on that, and the library selection of the Sybil, working on the I'm waiting on the new reading group, and yeah, working on art, working on being mom, and all the changes, and doing the magic, and the
That's so
music. I'm doing
beautiful.
music, and yeah.
Do you have music links that people can follow? Are you on
Um, I
Bandcamp or
I
YouTube or
I do have a Bandcamp, and I can send you a link after this is over.
yeah, send me the link
I
and then I'll share
had
it
a
with my
couple.
audience.
Okay, I had a couple bands back in the day, and eventually they'll be revived. But for now, I'm just working on writing more songs and stuff.
I'm
So.
waiting for your teenage punk band called Sybil and the Teenage Apostles.
Love. Nice. Yeah.
Or
I
something wild like that.
yeah, that'd be cool. That's a good one. Nice.
But yeah, everyone, make sure you go subscribe to Maddie over at Priestess of Hekate. You can go check out her content there, and we'll be sharing her music once I get the links sent to me. You can find those in our Discord, the Temple of the Muses. And yeah, this would be really, really awesome. And I really look forward, Maddie. We'll have to get together again and chat
Absolutely.
more. I
Yeah.
always love chatting with you.
Yeah, it's
But
so
yeah, this
fun.
was so
Thank
fun.
you. What an
Yeah,
honor.
so
Thank
much
you.
fun. All right.
All
So
right. See you.
hail Satan, much
Yes.
love. Take care, my friend. And
As
peace
well.
to everyone. Go study some Greek. All right. And thanks, Ammon. Really appreciate you. All right. Much love, everyone.